part about closing a pool alone wasn't the silence. It was how loud everything became after everyone left. During the day, the aquatic center at the university sounded alive. Water splashing, whistles echoing, swim teams yelling across the lanes. The constant hum of people moving. But after midnight, every sound felt isolated. The dripping water, the ventilation system, your own footsteps against the tile. I worked as a student lifeguard during my second year there. Mostly evening shifts. Swim meets, intramurals, water polo tournaments. Easy money, at least that's what I thought before the winter tournament. It was late January, right around the middle of one of those Saskatchewan cold snaps where the windows freeze around the edges and the air outside hurts your teeth when you breathe. The men's water polo tournament had gone overtime that night. Parents were still lingering in the lobby around 11 p.m., while players dragged equipment across the hallway soaked in pool water. I remember being exhausted. My shift technically ended at 11:30, but one of the supervisors asked if I could stay a little late. I said yes because I wanted the extra hours. I've regretted that decision for 2 years. By midnight, the building was finally empty, or at least I thought it was. I started doing the usual closing routine. Skim equipment away, shut down lane ropes, lock storage rooms, check locker rooms, and turn off sections of lights. The pool looked different at night. The overhead lights dimmed automatically after close, leaving most of the room lit only by the underwater lights in the deep end. Everything turned blue. The water barely moved. I was standing near the lifeguard office filling out chemical logs when I heard something splash. Not loud, just enough to make me look up. At first I assumed one of the lane divers had shifted, but when I looked toward the deep end, someone was standing there, motionless, right at the edge of the water. I remember immediately feeling annoyed, not scared, just irritated someone had stayed behind after closing. The guy stood completely still, staring into the pool. I called out, "Hey, we're closed." No response. It didn't even turn around. I walked closer, my shoes squeaking against the wet tile, echoed across the entire building. Still nothing. The closer I got, the stranger it felt. His clothes looked soaked, not damp, completely drenched. Water pooled beneath his shoes onto the tile. I stopped maybe 20 feet away. That's when he finally spoke. Without turning around, "What time do you lock the doors tonight?" His voice sounded calm, almost normal, but something about it made my stomach tighten instantly. I don't know why. It was just a question. Before I could answer, somebody behind me said, "Don't." I nearly jumped. It was Marcus, one of the older lifeguards. I hadn't even heard him walk onto the pool deck. He looked pale, actually pale. Not joking around, pale, scared pale. He stepped beside me without taking his eyes off me, then near the deep end, then quietly said, "Come back to the office." I remember whispering, "Who is that?" Marcus ignored the question completely. He just repeated, "Do not answer him." The man at the deep end still hadn't moved, still staring into the water. Then he asked again, "What time do you lock the doors?" Marcus grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt and pulled me back towards the office. The second the office door shut behind us, Marcus locked it. I started asking questions immediately. Was this some kind of prank? Was it a homeless guy? How did he even get in? Marcus stayed silent for a long time. Then he looked toward the security monitors mounted on the desk. Camera 6 showed the deep end clearly. Empty. No one was there. I felt my chest tighten. Marcus pointed at the screen. "That's why you don't answer him." I remember getting angry then, because fear mixed with confusion just turns into frustration. I told him none of this was funny. Marcus finally explained. About 6 years earlier, during the winter tournament, a student lifeguard had stayed late to close alone. According to Marcus, he was last seen near the deep end after midnight. They found his whistle and radio beside the pool the next morning. Nothing else. No body, no signs of struggle, nothing. Officially, the university treated it as a disappearance, but staff working late started reporting the same thing afterwards. Someone standing near the deep end asking, "What time do you lock the doors?" Marcus said older lifeguards had an unspoken rule: never answer him, never approach him alone, and if you see water footprints leading away from the pool, don't follow him. I honestly thought Marcus was insane until the radio on the desk crackled. Static filled the office. Then the voice came through. Quiet. Wet sounding. "What time do you lock the doors tonight?" My entire body went cold because the voice wasn't coming from outside the office. It sounded like the microphone was inches away from whoever spoke. Marcus immediately turned the radio volume off. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then someone knocked, swiftly against the office door. 3 slow taps, not aggressive, patient. Like whoever stood outside already knew we were in there. Marcus whispered, "Don't open it." The knocking came again, slow, even, then silence. I stared at the small window in the office door, expecting someone to appear behind the glass. Nothing did. But I heard water dripping outside. Not random dripping, footsteps, wet footsteps, moving slowly down the hallway towards the locker rooms, then stopping. A few seconds later, every overhead light around the pool shut off at once. The monitors flickered black briefly before switching to night vision. Camera 6 turned back on first. The deep end appeared in grainy green static, and there he was again, standing exactly where he'd been before, perfectly still, facing the water. Marcus looked terrified now, not unsettled. Terrified. Then the figure slowly turned toward the camera. The image distorted violently. Static rolled across the screen, and for one frame, literally less than a second, the figure appeared standing directly outside the office door. The knocking returned immediately, louder this time. I backed away instinctively. Marcus grabbed the emergency phone mounted on the wall and dialed security. No answer. The radio suddenly crackled back to life on its own. Then the voice whispered, "You never told me what time you locked the doors." The office lights went out, completely black. I heard Marcus swear beside me. Then I heard movement outside the office. Not walking, bare feet against the wet tile, slowly circling the room. I genuinely thought someone was going to come through the door. Then just as suddenly as everything started, everything stopped. The lights came back on, the monitors returned. The hallway outside the office was empty. Marcus opened the door carefully. The tile outside was soaked. Bare footprints covered the floor leading from the pool hallway directly to our office, and stopping right at the front door. No footprints leading away. I quit lifeguarding 3 weeks later, but the reason I'll never go back happened on my last night. I was leaving the building after close when I glanced through the tall windows facing the pool. The underwater lights were still on, blue, flickering beneath the surface, and standing at the deep end was someone, motionless, besides the water, watching it. Even from outside, I could tell his clothes were soaked. Then the radio clipped to my back, crackled. I had already turned it in hours earlier. A voice whispered through the static,